The great chamber of the Throne of Stars was silent. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds sat in their seats, their many eyes looking at the giant screen above them. The screen showed a map of the galaxy. 3 star systems were now black. Dead. Gone High Speaker Veth stood at the center of the chamber. He was old, very old. His gray skin hung loose on his thin body, and his 4 eyes were tired. He had led the Galactic Council for 200 years. In that time, he had watched the Void eat 47 star systems. 12 billion lives in this attack alone. The Void has taken the Myra systems, Veth said. His voice was soft, but it reached every corner of the room. We must vote on the standard response. The standard response. Everyone knew what that meant. Run, hide, give up more space to the darkness. Let it eat and hope it would be satisfied. Commander Rolus stood up from his seat. He was from the Keth Dominion, a species that had once been the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Their ships had ruled the stars. Their soldiers had feared nothing. That was 1,000 years ago. Now Rolus was fat and soft. His armor was only for show. I vote for evacuation, Rolus said. We must save who we can. Ambassador Pella was next. She was beautiful in the way her people were beautiful, with silver skin and eyes like deep water. She represented the Irani Collective, a peaceful species that valued art and music. Tears ran down her face as she raised her hand. Evacuation, she whispered. One by one, every member of the council voted the same way. Evacuation, retreat, surrender. It was the only choice. It had always been the only choice. No one could fight the Void. No one had ever tried. Not in 10,000 years. High Speaker Veth nodded slowly. Then it is decided. We will abandon systems 47 through 153. The evacuation will begin tomorrow. May our children forgive us for what we cannot do. He was about to end the session when the alarm started. Red lights flashed across the chamber. The map on the screen changed. A small dot appeared in council space, right next to the Throne of Stars station. An unknown ship had just arrived. Impossible, Commander Rolus said. No one can jump directly into protected space. The navigation required would be insane, Veth finished. Who are they? The answer came quickly. The ship was small, ugly by galactic standards. It was made of metal and fire, not crystal and light, like proper vessels. It looked like something a child would build. Then the symbol appeared on the screen. A blue planet with a single moon. Earth. The humans. Veth felt something cold move through his body. The humans were new to the galaxy. They had discovered space travel only 12 years ago. They were primitive, emotional, violent. The Council had given them a small territory far from the important places. They were not supposed to be here. They're hailing us, an officer said. Show me, Veth commanded. A face appeared on the screen. A human male. Young, by their standards, maybe 40 years old. He had black hair cut short and dark eyes that showed no fear. He wore a gray uniform with a simple symbol on his chest. Behind him, Veth could see other humans working at their stations. They all looked calm, ready. I am Captain Tejo of the United Earth Navy warship Defiance, the human said. His voice was clear and strong. I am here to deliver a message to the Galactic Council. Veth leaned forward. You have entered protected space without permission. This is a violation of 17 different laws. Explain yourself. Captain Tejo did not blink. 6 months ago, the Void attacked human space. It destroyed our colony of New Busan. 14 million of our people died in one night. We sent our condolences, Veth said. We offered evacuation assistance. The Void is a tragedy that affects us all. You offered us the chance to run, Tejo said. You told us to accept our losses and hide. You told us there was no other choice. There is no other choice. The Void cannot be defeated. It has existed since before my species had language. Every attempt to fight it has failed. Every attempt by you, Tejo said. Humanity has not tried yet. A strange sound moved through the chamber. It took Veth a moment to realize it was laughter. Nervous, disbelieving laughter from 1,000 different species. Commander Rolus stood up, his fat body shaking. "You cannot be serious. Your species has had space travel for 12 years. 12 years. We have watched the void for 10,000 years. We know it cannot be beaten. No, it cannot be beaten by those who have given up," Tejo said. "We have not given up." The laughter stopped. Something in the human's voice made everyone quiet. It was not anger. It was not pride. It was something else. Something most of the beings in this chamber had forgotten long ago. It was certainty. "The United Earth Navy hereby declares war on the entity known as the Void," Captain Tejo announced. "We do not ask for your permission. We do not ask for your help. We ask only that you stay out of our way." Veth stood frozen. In 200 years, he had never heard such words. War against the Void? It was not possible. It was not sane. "You will die," Veth said. "Your entire species will be destroyed. The Void will consume Earth itself," Tejo said. "But we will die fighting. We will die standing up. That is more than you have done in 10,000 years." The screen went dark. The human ship turned and began to move away from the station. In moments, it would jump to faster than light travel and be gone. The council chamber was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Ambassador Pela was crying again, but something in her tears had changed. Commander Rolus had gone pale, his hands shaking. High Speaker Veth sat down slowly in his throne. His old heart was beating too fast. He had lived for centuries. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched stars die, but he had never seen this. He had never seen someone choose to fight when running was so much easier. He had never seen hope in the face of certain death. "They're insane," he whispered, but even as he said the words, he was not sure if he believed them. And somewhere deep inside his ancient heart, in a place he had forgotten existed, something small and bright began to burn. It felt like fire. It felt like hope. 6 months before, Captain Tejo stood before the Galactic Council. The world was ending. The colony of New Busan was beautiful. It sat on a planet with 2 suns and purple oceans. 14 million humans lived there, farming the land and building cities under alien skies. It was humanity's proudest achievement, proof that they belonged among the stars. Dr. Wu Zhen had sent his wife and daughter there 3 years ago. He was a scientist working on deep space research, and he could not join them yet. But he called them every night. His daughter, only 7 years old, would show him her drawings of alien flowers. His wife would tell him about the sunsets. On the night the void came, he was on a call with them. "The sky looks strange tonight," his wife said. She was standing by the window, looking up. "It is very dark. I cannot see the stars." Wu Jin felt something cold in his stomach. "Get the emergency bag. Take our daughter and go to the shelter." "Why? What is happening?" He never got to answer. The call ended. The screen went black. And in one terrible moment, 14 million people vanished. The void had swallowed the entire planet. Wu Jin did not sleep for 7 days. He did not eat. He sat in his laboratory and stared at the data from New Busan's final moments. The sensors had recorded everything before they died. The temperature drop, the light disappearing, the way matter itself seemed to unravel. The Galactic Council sent their message of sympathy. They offered ships to help evacuate other human colonies. They told humanity what they told everyone: run, hide, survive. Admiral Sora received that message in her office on Earth. She was 63 years old, with gray hair cut short and a face like carved stone. She had spent her entire life building the United Earth Navy. 40 years of work, thousands of ships, millions of sailors. And now the galaxy was telling her to use those ships to run. She read the Council's message 3 times. Then she deleted it. "Give me Dr. Wu Jin," she told her assistant. "And find Lieutenant Gina from the Weapons Research Division. Tell them to come to Mars Base 7. Tell no one else." Mars Base 7 was a secret. The public did not know it existed. Even most of the military did not know. It was built inside a mountain, hidden from satellites and sensors. This was where Admiral Sora kept her most dangerous projects. Wu Jin arrived first. He looked like a dead man walking. His eyes were red and empty. He had not shaved in a week. But when Admiral Sora explained why she had called him, something changed in those empty eyes. "You want to fight the void?" he asked. "Everyone says it is impossible." "Everyone has been running for 10,000 years, Sora said. "I want to know if you can find a way to hurt it." "Why me?" "Because you have nothing left to lose. And because you are the smartest person I know." Lieutenant Gina arrived the next day. She was young, only 26, with bright eyes and quick hands. She had designed the new targeting systems for the Navy's latest ships. Some said she was a genius. Others said she was too creative, too willing to try dangerous ideas. Admiral Sora thought that was exactly what they needed. "I am giving you both unlimited resources," Sora told them. "Money, equipment, people, whatever you need. Your only job is to find a way to kill the void, or at least hurt it. And if we fail," Gina asked, "then humanity runs like everyone else." "But I want to try. I need to try." Wu Jin and Gina worked together for 4 months. It was not easy. Wu Jin was broken, barely functional. Some days, he could not get out of bed. The loss of his family had destroyed something inside him. But Gina was patient. She brought him food when he forgot to eat. She sat with him when the grief became too heavy, and slowly, piece by piece, they began to understand the void. "It is not really alive," Wu Jin explained one night. "Not like us. It is more like a wound in space itself, a place where the rules of the universe do not work properly. That is why weapons do not hurt it. The energy just gets absorbed and disappears, so it cannot be destroyed." Gina asked. "I did not say that." Wu Jin pulled up a diagram on his screen. "Look at this. When we study the void, we always see it healing. No matter what hits it, the damage closes up. But what if we could hit it with so much energy, so fast, that it could not heal in time? What if we could overload its ability to repair itself?" Gina studied the diagram. Her eyes widened. "We would need more power than any weapon we have ever built." "Yes, the energy of a small star, focused into a single beam that is insane. Maybe." Wu Jin looked at her with eyes that were no longer empty. They were burning. "But I am willing to be insane if it means making that thing pay for what it took from me." Gina designed the weapon. She called it the Sunbreaker. It would take the output of 3 Starship reactors and focus it through a crystal lens of her own invention. The beam would last only 2 seconds, but in those 2 seconds, it would deliver enough energy to hurt a god. When she showed the design to Admiral Sora, the old woman smiled for the first time in months. "Build it," Sora said, "and find someone crazy enough to fire it." That was when Captain Taeho volunteered. He was the commander of the Defiance, the Navy's newest warship. He was known for being calm under pressure, for making impossible shots, for never losing his nerve. When he heard about the Sunbreaker project, he went straight to Admiral Sora's office. "Let me carry it," he said. "Let me fly into the void and fire it." "No, this is probably a suicide mission," Sora said. "I know, but someone has to do it. Someone has to show the galaxy that running is not the only choice, that fighting is possible. Even if I fail, even if I die, the attempt itself matters." Admiral Sora looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded. "Make me proud, Captain. Make humanity proud." 1 month later, the Defiance was ready. The Sunbreaker was installed. The crew had been told the truth about their mission and given the choice to leave. Not one person left. As they prepared to depart, Dr. Wu Jin gave Captain Taeho a small photograph. It showed a woman and a little girl smiling in front of a purple ocean. "Bring this with you," Wu Jin said. "Let them see what they died for. Let them see you fight." Taeho put the photograph in his pocket over his heart. "I will," he promised, and then the Defiance flew into the stars, toward a galaxy that had forgotten how to hope. The Defiance flew alone through the dark space between stars. Captain Taeho sat in his chair on the bridge, watching the stars pass by on the main screen. In 3 days, they would reach the edge of void-controlled space. In 4 days, they would probably be dead. Lieutenant Gina stood at her station, running tests on the Sunbreaker for the 100th time. The weapon was ready. It had been ready for days. But she kept checking. It was the only thing that kept her from thinking about what was coming. "Captain," the communications officer said, "we are receiving a signal. Someone is following us." Taeho felt his body tense. "Galactic Council forces. Are they trying to stop us?" "No, sir. The signal is ... friendly. They want to talk. Show me." The screen changed. Instead of stars, it showed a face. Silver skin. Eyes like deep water. "Ambassador Pella of the Irani Collective." "Captain Taeho," she said. Her voice was soft but steady. "I am 3 hours behind you. Please slow down so I can catch up." Taeho leaned forward. "Ambassador, what are you doing here?" "Your place is on the council." "I resigned from the council 2 hours after you left." Pella's face showed something that might have been a smile. "Your speech changed something in me. I have spent my entire life watching my people vote for retreat. Vote for fear. When you stood there and said you would fight, I felt... I do not know the word in your language. Shame, perhaps. And something else. Something bright. Hope," Taeho said quietly. "Yes, hope. I had forgotten what it felt like." Pela straightened her shoulders. "I am not a warrior. I have never fired a weapon. But I have a ship with good shields and strong engines. I can help. Please let me help." Before Taeho could answer, another signal came through. Then another. And another ships were appearing behind them, dropping out of faster-than-light travel one by one. Some were small single-pilot vessels. Others were larger, carrying crews of dozens. They came from different species, different worlds. Some Taeho recognized. Others he had never seen before. "What is happening?" Gina whispered. "You're a broadcast," the communications officer said. His voice was shaking. It was transmitted to every system in the galaxy. "Everyone saw you speak to the council. Everyone heard what you said." A new face appeared on the screen. This one was different. Sharp features. Warrior's eyes. The symbol on her armor marked her as Keth, from the same species as Commander Rolas. "I am Kira," she said, "daughter of Commander Rollas." Her voice was hard, angry. "My father has spent his life running. His father did the same. And his father before him. For 1,000 years, my people have hidden behind words and votes, in fear. We were once warriors. We have forgotten that." "Why are you here?" Taeho asked. "'Cause I remember. Because somewhere in my blood, something still knows how to fight."
Ow.
Kira's eyes burned. "I have brought 12 ships. They are old, museum pieces. Weapons that have not fired in 1,000 years. But they work, and their crews are willing to die. You understand this is likely a suicide mission. I understand that my people have been dying slowly for 1,000 years. Dying of shame and fear. If I die fighting, at least it will mean something." More ships arrived throughout the day. By evening, there were 50 vessels following the Defiance. By the next morning, there were 200. Scientists and soldiers, traders and pilots. Beings of every species, every world. They had all seen the broadcast. They had all felt the same thing. Hope is contagious. When one person stands up, others find the courage to stand with them. Captain Taeho called a meeting of all ship commanders. Their faces filled his screen, rows upon rows of alien eyes. Some looked afraid. Some looked excited. All looked ready. "I need to tell you something," Taeho said. "We do not have a real plan. We have a weapon that might work. We have a ship that is tough, but not indestructible. We are flying into a darkness that has eaten star systems for 10,000 years. Most of us will probably not come back." He paused. No one spoke. "You can still leave. No one will blame you. No one will call you a coward. You have already done more than anyone expected. You have already shown that the galaxy is not as broken as we thought." Silence. Then Kira's voice cut through. "With respect, Captain, shut up." There was fire in her words. "We did not follow you here because we thought we would win. We followed you here because we are tired of losing. We are tired of watching our leaders run and hide. We are tired of being afraid. Ambassador Pela spoke next. For 10,000 years, the galaxy has accepted that some things cannot be fought. We have built our entire civilization on retreat. And what has it given us? More death, more loss, more shame. At least this way, we die with dignity. Other voices joined in. Agreement from 100 different species. They all said the same thing in different words. We are tired of running. We would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. Tejo felt something burning in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. Pride. It's very well, he said. Then let us make this death count. Let us show the void that the galaxy is not as weak as it thinks. Let us show our children that someone, somewhere, was willing to fight. The fleet organized itself. The larger ships would hang back, providing cover fire and drawing the void's attention. The smaller ships would form a protective wall around the Defiance, and the Defiance would push forward as deep into the darkness as it could go, till Gina could fire the Sunbreaker. It was not a complicated plan. It did not need to be. Everyone knew their role. Everyone knew the price. On the final night before the battle, Captain Tejo walked through his ship. He talked to every member of his crew. He learned their names, their homes, their reasons for being here. Some had lost family to the void. Some had simply seen his broadcast and felt something wake inside them. All of them were afraid. None of them were leaving. Lieutenant Gina found him in the engine room staring at the Sunbreaker's power core. "Are you scared?" she asked. "Yes," he admitted. "Very scared." "Good. I would not trust you if you were not." She stood beside him, looking at the weapon she had built. "Wu Jin told me something before we left. He said that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something else is more important than fear. What is more important to you?" Gina was quiet for a moment. "The girl in that photograph? The one Wu Jin gave you? She never got to grow up. She never got to fall in love, or see new stars, or make her own choices. The void took all of that from her. I cannot bring her back, but I can make sure her death means something. I can make sure the thing that killed her finally feels pain." Tejo nodded slowly. He pulled the photograph from his pocket and looked at it. The little girl's smile. The mother's proud eyes. The purple ocean behind them. "We fight for them," he said. "We fight for all of them," Gina agreed. The next morning, the fleet jumped toward the void. 217 ships. Thousands of souls. They were flying into the darkness. They were flying into history. The void was not like anything they had imagined. It was bigger. It was darker. It was wrong in ways that hurt to look at. A wall of nothing stretched across the stars, eating the light, swallowing everything.
Ow.
The fleet slowed as they approached, and for a long moment no one spoke. Captain Tejo stared at the darkness on his screen. Somewhere inside that nothing, 14 million humans had died. Somewhere inside that nothing, a little girl had taken her last breath. He touched the photograph in his pocket and forced himself to breathe. "All ships report ready," the communications officer said. His voice was shaking. "Form up," Tejo ordered. "Execute Battle Plan Alpha. All ships, stay out of the inner zone as long as you can. Buy us time." The fleet moved. 200 ships. Spreading out in a wide formation, their weapons powering up, the Defiance pushed forward alone. Heading straight for the heart of the darkness, the void noticed them. It was hard to describe what happened next. The darkness seemed to reach out, like a hand made of nothing. Ships began to slow down, there. Engines fighting against a pull that should not have existed. The temperature dropped across the fleet. Alarms screamed on every vessel. "The void is drawing us in," Gina reported. Her voice was tight but steady, some kind of gravity field. "It wants to swallow us. Can we break free? Not at this distance. We are already inside its reach." Tejo looked at the tactical display. Some of the smaller ships were struggling, their engines not strong enough to resist the pull. They were drifting toward the darkness, helpless. "All ships with weak engines, fall back now," Tejo commanded. "Do not waste your lives. Stay at the edge and provide covering fire." Some ships obeyed, others did not. A small transport vessel, crewed by a single pilot from a species Tejo did not recognize, pushed forward instead of back. The pilot's voice came over the radio. "I have no weapons, but I have fuel. Tell my family I died with purpose." The transport ship accelerated straight into the void's outer edge and exploded. For one brief moment, the gravity field weakened. Struggling ships broke free. More sacrifices followed. Ships that were too damaged to fight used their final moments to buy time for others. Pilots who knew they were dying aimed their vessels at the darkness and flew in firing. Kira's voice cut through the chaos. "My squadron is engaging, targeting the void's outer layer with everything we have." Her 12 museum ships opened fire. Ancient weapons, unused for 1,000 years, lit up the darkness with beams of golden light. The energy disappeared into the void without any visible effect. But the darkness seemed to focus on them, distracted from the defiance. "Keep firing," Kira commanded. "Draw its attention. Give the humans a chance." The defiance pushed deeper. The darkness pressed against the hull, and the lights began to flicker. The crew felt cold, a cold that came from inside their bones. Some of them saw things in the darkness, faces, loved ones who had died. Voices calling them to stop, to give up, to let go. "It is trying to break our minds," Tejo said. He gripped his chair tightly. "Do not listen. Focus on your stations. Remember why we are here." Gina worked at her console, her fingers moving faster than thought. "Sunbreaker is charging. I need 3 more minutes to reach firing range. You have them? Whatever it takes." Ambassador Pala's ship appeared on the tactical display, moving to intercept a tendril of darkness that was reaching for the Defiance. Her vessel had no weapons, only shields. She placed herself between the human ship and the void, Copela said over the radio. "I will hold it off." "You will die," Tejo said. "Everyone dies, Captain. Few get to choose what they die for." The tendril struck Pala's ship. Her shields flared brilliant blue, holding for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, then they collapsed. Her ship crumpled like paper, and Ambassador Pala was gone. Tejo did not have time to mourn. The Defiance was almost in range. "Status," he demanded. "Sunbreaker at 90% charge," Gina reported. 30 seconds to firing range. "But Captain, our hull is starting to crack. The void's gravity is crushing us. Can we hold together long enough? I do not know." "Right." The ship groaned around them. Metal twisted. Warning lights flashed. Cold was getting worse, and the whispers were getting louder. Crew members were crying at their stations, fighting visions of their worst fears. Tejo stood up from his chair. His legs were shaking, but his voice was not. "Listen to me," he said, and his words carried to every corner of the ship. "The darkness is old. It has been eating worlds since before our species existed. It has never known resistance. It has never known pain. Today, we teach it both. Today, we show it what humanity is made of. Not our ships, not our weapons, our will, our refusal to give up. That is what the void cannot swallow. That is what it cannot kill." The crew steadied. Hands stopped shaking. Eyes focused. They were still afraid, but they were also ready. "Firing range achieved," Gina announced. "Sunbreaker is ready." Tejo looked at the darkness filling his screen. For one moment, he thought he could see faces in it. Millions of faces. Billions. All the beings that had consumed over 10,000 years. They were not calling him to die. They were calling him to fight. Fire, the Sunbreaker released. Light exploded from the Defiance. Not ordinary light. Something brighter. Something that hurt to look at. The beam cut through the darkness like a knife through smoke, and for one eternal second, the void screamed. It was not a sound. It was a feeling. Every being in the fleet felt it in their bones. The void was in pain. For the first time in 10,000 years, something had hurt it. The beam carved a wound in the darkness. The wound did not heal. Light poured through, revealing stars that had been hidden for millennia. A hole in the void, bleeding light. But the void struck back. A wave of darkness crashed against the Defiance. The ship spun, systems failing, hull breaching. Gina was thrown from her station. Blood floated in the zero gravity. The lights went out. Main power offline, someone shouted. Life support failing. We have minutes. Tejo pulled himself up. Pain shot through his body. Something was broken. He did not know what. He did not care. Did we hurt it? He asked. Through the cracked view screen, he could see the answer. The void was smaller. The wound was still there, still bleeding light. Stars that had been dark for centuries were visible again. Yes, Gina whispered. She was alive, holding onto her console with bloody hands. We heard it. We actually heard it. Outside, the remains of the fleet were fighting to reach them. Kira's ships, only 5 left from the original 12, formed a shield around the crippled Defiance. Other vessels joined them, using their own hulls to block the Void's attacks. Hold on, Kira's voice came through the static. We are getting you out of here, Tejo wanted to argue. He wanted to tell them to leave, to save themselves. But the words would not come. He was too tired, too broken. All he could do was watch. As the remaining ships locked onto the Defiance and began to pull it away from the darkness, the Void did not follow. It could have. It was still vast, still powerful, but it stayed where it was, pressing against the wound, trying to heal, trying to understand what had just happened. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Void was afraid. The fleet limped away from the battlefield. The 217 ships that had come, fewer than 50 remained. Thousands had died. Ambassador Pela, the pilot of the transport ship, Kira Squadron, so many names that would never be spoken again. But they had done the impossible. They had made the darkness bleed, and in that bleeding wound, they could see the stars, beautiful, brilliant, free. The first battle was over. The war had just begun. The Defiance was dying. Its engines were broken. Its hull was cracked in 100 places. Life support was failing, and the cold of space was seeping through the walls. Of the 300 crew members who had started the mission, only 192 remained. But they were alive, and they were going home. The remaining ships of the fleet formed a protective shell around the crippled human warship. Kira's 5 surviving vessels stayed closest, their ancient weapons still hot from the battle. Other ships, some barely holding together themselves, added their shields and their strength. The journey back took 4 days. 4 days of emergency repairs and rationed air. 4 days of mourning for the dead and caring for the wounded. For days of realizing what they had done, Captain Tejo spent most of that time in the medical bay. 3 of his ribs were broken, and something was wrong with his spine. The doctors said he might not walk again. He did not care. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the wound in the void, the light pouring through, the darkness bleeding. Lieutenant Gina visited him on the 3rd day. Her arm was in a sling, and there were cuts on her face, but her eyes were bright, alive in a way they had not been before. We are receiving messages, she said. From everywhere. Every species in the galaxy saw what happened. The Council broadcast our battle on every channel. Why? I do not know. Maybe they wanted to show the galaxy that fighting was futile. Maybe they wanted to use our deaths as a warning. Gina smiled, and there was something fierce in that smile. Instead, they showed everyone that the void can be hurt. They showed everyone that we did not run. The messages kept coming. Ships from 100 different worlds were changing course, heading toward the throne of stars. Not to run, not to hide. To join when the fleet finally arrived at the council station, they found a crowd waiting for them. Thousands of vessels surrounded the throne of stars. Millions of beings watched on screens across the galaxy. The Defiance was towed into the main hangar. It looked like a corpse, barely recognizable as a ship. But when the doors opened and Captain Tejo limped out, supported by 2 crew members, the crowd erupted, cheering, crying, beings of every species. Every world, shouting his name, shouting the names of the dead, shouting a word that had not been spoken in the council chambers for 10,000 years. Victory. High Speaker Veth was waiting at the end of the hangar. He looked older than before, smaller, but there was something different in his eyes, something that had not been there when Tejo first met him. The ancient leader descended from his floating throne and stood on the ground, facing the human captain. It was a gesture of equality, A gesture that meant the old ways were dying. You did what we said was impossible, Veth said. His voice was quiet, but every being in the hangar heard him. You stood against the void. You made it bleed. We did not do it alone, Tejo replied. Your people died with us. Pela gave her life to save my ship. Kira and her squadron held the line when everything was falling apart. This was not a human victory. This was a victory for everyone who chose to stop running. Veth nodded slowly. I have lived for 400 years. I have watched the void consume more star systems than I can count. I have voted for retreat more times than I can remember. I told myself it was wisdom. I told myself it was the only way. He paused, and something in his ancient face cracked. I was wrong. The high speaker turned to face the crowd. His voice grew stronger. For 10,000 years, the Galactic Council has followed one rule: survival through retreat. We have built our civilization on the belief that some enemies cannot be beaten. We have taught our children that running is wisdom and fighting is foolishness. No more. The crowd went silent. Today, I am asking the Council to vote again. Not for evacuation. Not for retreat. I am asking for full military support against the void. Every shipyard, every resource, every species united under a single purpose. Commander Rolla stood up in the crowd. His face was pale, his eyes wet. My daughter died in that battle, he said. His voice broke on the words. She died fighting for the first time in our family's history. She died as a warrior. How can I do less? He raised his hand. I vote for war. Others followed. One by one, the council members raised their hands. Species that had not agreed on anything in centuries now voted together. The decision was unanimous. For the first time in 10,000 years. The galaxy would fight. Back on Earth, Admiral Sora watched the broadcast in her office. She was alone, but she allowed herself to smile. It was a small smile, tired and sad. So many had died. So many more would die in the war to come. But they had done it. They had changed everything. Dr. Wu Jin was not watching the broadcast. He was standing at the new Busan Memorial, a wall of names carved in black stone. 14 million names. His wife's name, his daughter's name. He touched the stone with trembling fingers. I could not save you, he whispered. I could not bring you back. But I gave everything I had to make sure your deaths meant something. The thing that killed you is afraid now. It is bleeding. And someday, we will destroy it completely. The wind blew across the memorial, carrying the smell of flowers. Somewhere, a child was laughing. Life continued. Life always continued, Wu Jin wept. But for the first time since that terrible night, his tears were not only from grief. There was something else in them now. Something bright and warm hope. In the council chambers, the celebration continued. But Captain Tejo slipped away from the crowd. His injuries were getting worse, and he needed rest. He found a quiet observation deck with a view of the stars. Lieutenant Gina found him there an hour later. You should be in medical, she said. I will go soon. I just wanted to see them. He gestured at the stars. They look different now, brighter. Gina stood beside him. The void is still out there, still vast, still hungry. We heard it, but we did not kill it. I know. This war will take years, maybe decades, maybe longer. Many more will die then. Why do you look so peaceful? Tejo considered the question. His body was broken. His ship was destroyed. He had lost crew members who were like family to him, and yet something inside him felt whole for the first time in his life. Because we changed the story, he said finally. For 10,000 years, the only story was fear. Run and hide. Accept the darkness. Today, we wrote a new story. A story about standing up. A story about fighting back. That story will spread. It will grow. It will become part of who we are. Long after you and I are gone, beings will remember this day. They will remember that someone said no. Gina nodded slowly. A new dawn. Yes, not the end of night. Just the beginning of morning. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Behind them, The galaxy was mobilizing for war. Shipyards were powering up. Scientists were studying the Sunbreaker data. Warriors who had forgotten how to fight were remembering. The void was still out there, vast and hungry and wounded. But for the first time in 10,000 years, it was not the only thing growing. Hope was growing too. And hope, as the humans had proven, was the most dangerous weapon in the universe. Somewhere in the darkness, the void waited. It had existed since before the first stars were born. It had consumed more worlds than it could count. It had never known defeat. But now it knew pain. Now it knew fear. And in the wound that would not heal, light continued to pour through. Stars that had been hidden for millennia were shining again. Worlds that had been given up for dead were visible once more. Captain Tejo looked at those stars. He thought about all the beings who had died to reveal. Pela, the brave pilot of the transport. Kira, the crew of the Defiance, who would never go. Home, we do not go gently, he said softly. Gina looked at him. What? Something my grandmother used to say. A line from an old poem. Do not go gentle into that good night. He smiled, and there was fire in that smile. We raged against the dying of the light. And the light answered, the war was not over. The war was just beginning, but for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy was not running. It was fighting. And in the end, that made all the difference.